we're back, and we are about to start a conversation where we're going to find out all about resolving disputes. We have with us representatives of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Association of Belize, ADRAB, and we have the President, Consuelo Godfrey. We have Vice President, Wendy Oxley, and in the middle we have the Treasurer and trained arbitrator, Ian Cacho. Good morning.
Good
and
morning.
welcome.
Good morning.
So this is an interesting conversation because I think not many people are aware that there are options to resolving a dispute besides going through the full court process. So let's just talk a bit about this association and what the members do.
Sure. Thanks, Marlene and Isani, for having us on air, and I'll extend a thank you to my colleagues that decided to join us this morning. Yes, our association is, you asked a great question this morning earlier in our pre-talk that if we were new, and since 2013, when the Supreme Court of Belize, or I should say the initiative was to train mediators and to have trained mediators in Belize in order to kind of alleviate some of the court backlog that they had with civil cases, because not all cases need to go to court. There's might just be minor disputes that people have, and because they only saw the court as an alternative or the only option to, you know, resolve those disputes, they didn't understand that mediation could be an option. And so when the courts decided to train its first set of mediators, that was when the association started the footsteps of where it is today. And so 52 of us got trained in 2013. I think the Chief Justice and a few of the other mediators were on set talking about that process a few years back. We had a steering committee through the efforts of one of our past presidents, Ms. Viagran, and from those, and us sitting here, we're the founding members. And from that, we were actually called the Belize Association of Court-Connected Mediators. And it was until last year we changed our name to include both mediators and arbitrators of Belize, hence the name Alternative Dispute Resolution Association of Belize, because it encompasses both of them.
Here's the first question that comes to my mind. Do you find that people have that sense of confidence in seeking out your services as opposed to going through formal litigation?
Very good question, Isani. I would want to say that at this point in time, because mediation has been taking place for this period of time, and our association has been making great strides in getting the information out there, more people are looking to mediation for getting their disputes or their conflicts resolved. The challenge we have as an association, and the folks will talk to you a little bit about some of those challenges, is that culturally and traditionally we've only had a court system in Belize where it's only been litigation. You hire an attorney, even at the magistrate court, you show up for court, whatever the magistrate decides, that is the outcome. And so getting folks to understand that mediation in and of itself, a mediator is not a judge, the mediator is not an attorney, the mediator is actually a neutral party that helps both parties to come to an understanding, or helps both parties to, one, provide valuable input into their solution, but at the same time they're coming up with their own solutions. And people tend to buy better into what they do when they can own it. And I love that about mediation. And so when folks have entered into the mediation process and they have been successful with it, and they've had binding contracts and they've had binding agreements, and both of their interests have been met, we've found that the success rate of keeping hold to those contracts and to those agreements are better and more progressive than something that they might say, okay, it's handed down in court, I don't want to be arrested. But we've seen where court cases have been handed down and then it's not.
Sometimes
they still don't
sanctions the mediation because they feel it can be resolved better that way, but you can also access it on your own.
Yes, through our association you can access it privately. All our members, the 45 of us that have been have joined the association within the last 5 years, all have been trained within the system. And we actually just finished, a few of our members have just finished arbitration training, family court mediation training, which is specialized. And we've done work with the magistrate court as well.
Let me get some clarification there. What's the difference between a mediator, an arbitrator, and even why there's a special family court mediator?
Okay, mediation basically is you are asking the parties to decide their own fate, right? Arbitration, on the other hand, is you select persons who you believe would look at your evidence that you bring. So you're acting more in a in a judge capacity,
In
right?
both situations.
Right, but at the end of the day, when the arbitrator makes a decision, that's final. It's like just like if you handed down something from the court, but it's not necessarily a judge doing it. It's more mutual people. Probably, we have engineers and we have people in specialized fields, especially if you're looking at a housing issue, right? And you don't necessarily want to go through a court system to do that. You don't want to go through an arbitrator to look at those evidence. Family court, you need special training because you're dealing with special issues. You're dealing with issues of you find a lot of stuff, and it's not everybody who can deal with family situation because you get emotional. You are entwined in that. So we have people who are specialized. They get a special training to do family. It's not recommended for everyone, right? Because everybody have different.
There are a lot of
levels.
sensitive issues.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes, adding to Mr. Kacho, as it relates to family mediation, it has to be somebody also too, apart from training, that is emotionally stable, because there are a lot of delicate issues that we deal with that need proper attention, and if it's not dealt with in the proper manner, it can lead to more problems.
Absolutely.
When you're dealing with situations that have to do with families, like you said, emotional stability is important because
Very.
that allows you to be able to make a sound decision regarding either of the two parties' fate that are involved.
And in both cases where we have arbitration or mediation, it's dealt with in a neutral manner. So we cannot be biased. I can be in mediation room in the court, and I have to be attentive and make sure that the issues that are dealt with in a proper and fair manner. Not because there's a woman there, I might feel sorry for her, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the family, what's best for the children.
Yeah. Now, you're so right, Consuelo, when you say we have a very fixed mindset that litigation fixes problems. And I think sometimes people like the validation and hate the failure when a judge says, you win, you lose, you're right, you're wrong, depending on the conflict that you have. What have you found in the process of people accessing mediation, whether court-sanctioned or private, in realizing that the solution can come without having someone definitively say you are more right or less wrong?
Yeah. So what I like, one of the things we like, or one of the benefits, there are many benefits to mediation, but one of the benefits that I particularly like and is that one, when you actually sit down and mediate cases, and we've all mediated cases at the Supreme Court and Magistrate Court, and I believe Ian and Wayne, they have also mediated at the Family Court. People come to their disputes with positions, and you have to know a difference between positions and interests. Actually, when you mediate a case, you are a neutral third party, but so neutral that even if you know someone on either side of the table, you need to disclose that before you mediate a case and be open about that. So there's definitely an openness there. But what I like about it is that people have actually found that doing mediation, they both came with different positions, but actually when you have them discuss how they feel and where they're coming from and the reasons behind it, because a dispute is really, a conflict is really a dispute between a real or perceived difference. And so people like to dub conflict as a bad thing, and it's not. It's inevitable. Conflicts will happen. It is a part of who we are as human beings, and so finding an alternative way to, and perhaps maybe our children need to learn to do this, and so we'll talk a little bit more about some of the initiatives we're doing with schools, but even so, when parties can see that their positions were different but their interests were the same, that is a benefit, that is a success. When they both can sign to an agreement that they both contributed to, that is also a benefit. And then what I like about mediation is that it keeps the relationships restored. When you have two and a wife at a dispute, when you have children and parents on a dispute, when you have a teacher and a principal having a dispute, when you have an employee and an employer on a dispute, you don't only want to just sever the relationship. There are times when you need to restore and keep the connected nature of that relationship, and mediation brings an opportunity for that to happen. And I think mediation is the only process that does that. Because even though arbitration is neutral, and even though arbitration does have where both sides can present their evidence, it is still not a buy-in on both sides in the sense that they're not contributing. A lot of times you'll find in mediation the attorneys don't really talk. The attorneys are there just as a legal advisory or a legal advisory person. It is the parties that contribute to the conversation and contribute to the solutions that they come up with. And who best to come up with your own solution than both of you who are having this dispute.
Yeah.
So it's conflict resolution. It's kind of assisted conflict resolution in terms of mediation. So if Isani and I have an issue, you would sit with us and we would come up with our own mutual solution.
Yes.
Now, how does one decide when arbitration is necessary versus mediation? Because arbitration now, you'll actually, look, I'll state my case, you'll state your case, and you'll make a decision.
Arbitration is basically is used for contract and tort.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at finance or remedies,
Yeah.
prescribing remedies. That's when you go to arbitration.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for civil small cases.
Bigger
It's
cases,
usually
yeah.
bigger
Okay.
cases,
Contract law.
and it usually takes a longer sometimes from a lot of research to complete.
Now, mediators in Belize is a part-time option. I mean, you are full-time
This time.
mediators. We all know you in your individual roles as well. What prompted you all individually to get involved in this field?
Well, me personally, I have always been interested in the law, the legal system, and I found it to be an easy way, an interesting way to get intimately with the system itself. And I specialize also in family mediation, which is something that I've been passionate about. And I've seen that we as mediators have been able to contribute something to the community on a whole. As one of the biggest sellers in mediation is that both parties are able to make a contribution to their solution. We are only there to help them assist or direct them in the right path. At the end of the day, it's whatever they decide what they agree. So it's easier to keep a contract or an agreement based on what both parties decide.
For me, basically, I am a researcher. Been in the library for years, working with young people, so there's a lot of conflict. So what prompted me to do mediation, basically I'm always trying to keep the peace. So there's street mediation, literally that goes on, right? And being involved in the union as well. We start the first mediation course held at UWI was in 2010, which was started by the National Trade Union Congress of Belize. Those were the people who I am a part of that association and organization for many years. So they saw that they needed some training.
They do quite a bit of
Right,
and
our trainers were Miss Julianne Ellis Bradley and Mr. Darrell Bradley. So they literally had a passion for it, coming from Jamaica, having that knowledge. They started that whole process from way back then, and I kept with it. And today I am a mediator, arbitrator, and
Librarian.
librarian,
And justice of the peace.
and justice of the peace, and all of that. So it's you want to see peace, you want to see people come up with resolution. You want to see less conflict in your community. It started in the community, but now I can do it,
I honestly love the legal field, and I always had an issue with reading court documents, and having this training helps us with understanding a lot of that legal jargon. I actually wanted to always be an attorney when I was a little girl, and I said, maybe I should dabble a little bit in the legal profession. And so as a result of that, we were able to get this training. Actually got trained through Restore Belize in conflict resolution, because I'm an educator by need. That has also been my ministry, but I like the idea that we can actually teach people how to resolve conflict. And I think if we've been doing this for some time now, we probably wouldn't be where we are. I know the restorative justice initiative that Restore Belize is embarking on with the gangs and so forth has really seen some strides in getting people to sit at the table who normally would not sit at the table and talk out their issues. Because sometimes the gang turf is really about my position, your position, my interest, your interest, and sometimes they want the same things. They just want to belong. They want to be part of a family. They want to be able to have some kind of connection with someone. And so what best else to do to do this in a process where both parties feel appreciated and valued. So that's why I did it. I love that.
Mediation, I mean, I'm trying to think of people who perhaps at home have an issue that they have to resolve, and nothing is more frustrating than when you just can't make a headway in a dispute of any sort. Maybe I can't afford, an attorney, or I am in the court process, and we know how slow the court can be sometimes. Why is mediation, or when is mediation the best option? Do I have to wait for the court to tell me, go to mediation or arbitration, or can I access it on my own? And is it cheaper and less time consuming?
So you actually answered all your questions. One, it's done through the court, yes. So most cases, a lot of civil cases now, domestic cases are referred to mediation, even at the magistrate court level.
Yeah.
But what I like about what we do at the association is that folks have approached us already.
Yeah.
Businesses, organizations, individuals have approached us privately and said, hey, I need a mediator. I have a dispute with a particular individual, or this is what's happening in my organization. Can you assign a mediator to us? Since our mediators are trained, we've had experience with the courts, the court system, we then assign a mediator to that particular. Now, in terms of expenses, it is a lot cheaper than getting an attorney and going to litigation. And in terms of time, it is, you get to your resolution a lot faster. And it's both of you coming up with the resolution. It's not handed down through a court case or through a court judgment. And so there is room for all of that. So it's less expensive, it's less time consuming. You can do it privately in a room, in a setting that you both choose. The parties can choose the mediator or agree to the mediator that is going to mediate the case.
That's what I was going to ask. You actually get sometimes the choice to, like, Sanya and I would have to decide which of you three would be best fit as our mediator, if that's the case, right?
Yes, depending on our expertise. We have 45 members currently in our association. We have 65 Supreme Court mediator. We have 45 family court mediators, and we have 25 arbitrators that are trained. So currently with our new intake last year, because UWI does consistent training, those are the numbers we're looking at. And so our association is growing each year with arbitrators and trained mediators, and we provide that service privately to folks, to individuals, to organizations, to businesses.
This is all voluntary, or is it something where monies have to be paid to acquire the services? Just a curiosity.
Yes, through the court, there's a $700 fee, right? 500, and that is paid through the court if it's done at the Supreme Court. If it's done privately, it's paid through to the association or to a mediator. I noted on the screen it said 60% success rate. Well, I am happy to say today that our success rate is well above 80%.
Wow.
It's very popular. I guess first people were afraid, as usual, something new, they're not aware of how it works. Even that was the attitude between some of the lawyers. But I realized with time and education, it's being well received. As a matter of fact, it's being sought out as one of the best alternatives. So I'm happy to say that mediation is quickly growing and very successful.
Sorry.
And for our association, the members, the 45 of us that are active members in the association, we have a general meeting coming up on Saturday at UWI. That success rate has been well over 80% as well. In fact, you have quite a bit of our mediators and arbitrators. Well, mediators, I will say, because arbitration hasn't taken off as yet, because the training just happened recently. We have some mediators who have had 100% success rate, meaning every single case that they've sat on, there was an agreement, there was some solution that was, sought. And so I must say that I'm proud of our members and those that have decided to join us. And so our initiative is to actually build awareness. We build our competence through UWI in terms of our training. We just had a recent refresher courses last year, and Ian could talk a little bit about that if you have a few minutes. And then, of course, yes, you do have to pay a fee, but both parties contribute to the fee.
I have a question to ask from a journalist point of view here. Why is it that regarding the outcome of a mediation, it seems to be bound in confidence, as opposed to a decision that would be handed down by magistrate court or the Supreme Court? I ask because, for instance, there was this huge matter between the former city administrator and the current Belize City Council, and that resorted to mediation, but we never knew what the outcome is because they're bound to a certain silence.
Okay, yes, well, that's one of the attraction of mediation, that everything that's done, it's kept in confidentiality. And that's the choice that
You said
both
your own
parties...
term.
And it's agreed
Yes,
upon
exactly.
more
So that's
often
the
than not
choice.
by
Both
both parties.
prefer to be maintained and held in that manner, which is
Yeah,
one
so-
of the advantages.
Yes, so once they sign that agreement, whatever, but both parties need to decide if they will disclose the information or not. So in the case of, let's say in a case like that, I would suspect that both parties would need to decide how much information will be disclosed and what won't be disclosed. And the mediator, because we all took an oath under the Supreme Court ordinance through the Chief Justice Office, we have to keep our information, anything that goes through us in terms of a mediator, we need to keep confidential. And so because of that process, because of the confidentiality of it, and the, not secrecy, but confidentiality, then it is like an attorney. You have attorney-client privilege. It's the same concept. But both parties can also decide if they want to disclose any information publicly. That is, but both parties would need to decide what that is.
So quickly running out of time, I just want to get one more point in because you did say it, that you are working with schools, that there's an initiative there.
Well, we want to, that
Okay.
is the goal of the association, is to actually start providing some kind of awareness building with students, with teachers, with schools. And we want to also work with Restore Belize. We also want to be able to work with businesses and organizations, because I think a lot of people feel like the court is just too much to deal with, and the process is too tedious. And so here is our association that is, we have our trained personnel, Wendy, Eon, and 42 other members. And so this is a service that you can easily access.
And how do people get in touch?
So yes, well, we have our brochure coming. We have our marketing person that is going to be helping us with our website. Currently, if you want to access any one of our services, we do have our private numbers. 610-6244, Eon.
614-4587. And they usually could find me at UWI. That's, you could call it
That's the
the
home
arbitration, the mediation headquarters for right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, they could get me there.
Well, and if you can't get neither of them, then you can call me at 610-1072.
But we're also found, our profile is also found on BelizeJudiciary.org,
That's
Okay.
right.
where we have the 52 mediators. I'm not sure if the new intake has been uploaded to the system, but that's just mediation. So our association caters to both mediation and
Arbitrator.
arbitration. So you can access any one of us and we can direct you to someone.
All right.
And that picture right there was
The opening of
the
Supreme Court.
opening of the Supreme Court, where the Mediation Association was actually
Nice.
invited. You know, so ADRAB was there in full effect. So you know, since we're part of that court system, we were invited.
Yes.
Perfect.
And
Well,
we-
thank you for coming in and telling us more. We really do hope that people who are listening have found that there is an alternative solution to going through the court system, and most importantly, getting their issues resolved in a peaceful manner.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
And
us.
best of luck. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, it'll be to wrap up the show, so stay tuned.